Your world, your challenges, your faith. When faith within engages the world without, there's power. It's living life from the inside out.
The way a dad connects with his daughter has a lifelong impact. When dads know this, it can scare them to death. I'm Martha Manikas Foster, and today on the Family Life Inside Out podcast, we're talking about that dad-daughter connection. My guest is counselor, speaker, and author Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield. Her new book is titled Let's Talk, Conversation Starters for Dads and Daughters. She's the host of the Dad Whisperer radio show and podcast, and founder of the father-daughter forum called the ABBA Project. Dr. Watson Canfield's been a guest on Inside Out twice before, but this is the first time since her last name's been Canfield. Congratulations, Michelle, and welcome back to Inside Out.
Oh, thank you. I love that you highlighted my new last name.
Yes, that's exciting. That's exciting. Like I said, I am over the moon for you.
Thank you so much. Marriage has been fun, and I'm loving every minute of it.
I am so glad. I am so glad. Now, Michelle, this book, actually, maybe I should say your career as you talk with young women and girls and as you talk with dads, you know that how a dad approaches the relationship with his daughter is consequential. I mean, in most cases, it's going to make a difference in the way the daughter sees herself and the way she relates to others over her entire lifetime. In fact, what I did last night is I took a picture of some of the pages of things that you say about the influence of a dad in a daughter's life, and I texted them to my dad so that he could see that because he's just such a special guy for me. Anyway, I
love that. Which you're showing that it doesn't matter what age we are.
Oh, yeah.
We always need our dad to bond with us at every age and every stage.
Absolutely. I know that when we say out loud that a dad's relationship with his daughter is consequential, that's going to, in some dads' minds, just raise the stress level. It's just going to start being like either I haven't done it or is that what's ahead of me? So why don't you share with us some of the ways that you've seen dads respond to the pressure to do this right?
I love how you say that because men oftentimes, what I've observed in what I say my decade of traveling from my planet of Venus to Mars, right, men are from Mars, is that often men would rather do nothing than do it wrong. And I tell them, but you get that doing nothing is doing it wrong, so right. I'm going to help you do it right. So like you said, there's this pressure to do it right, and sometimes when a man already has believed the lie, I'll call it, right? It's not truth, but a lie that he'll never get it right. He may stop trying, or he gets enough negative reactions or dismissive responses from his daughter that he just stops pursuing her. And I'm just saying, dads, you got to hang in there. You do it in sports, you don't give up. You hang in there in your job and you don't give up. You've got to do it relationally with your daughter because you're either going to advance or you're going to retreat, right? It's one or the other. There's really no such thing as neutral.
There's no such thing as neutral.
And if you back off, if you back off from your daughter and think, I just don't think I can do it right, or she gets mad at me every time I say it wrong, or I'll let mom cover this decade, your daughter will internalize that and believe that something is wrong with her if you back off. So, Dad, you've got to hang in there. You've got to pursue her heart. It's the way it goes. Don't give up. She needs you more than she may know and even more than you may ever know.
So you've got dads who may be eager to know how to do this right, certainly feeling the pressure. So to build a dad's both his confidence and his competence, you've come up with conversation starters. So what are some of the topics? Because maybe people listening will be surprised at where you go with some of these topics.
Okay, so in this book I have 60 scripts. And the goal that I have is to equip men to lead. I think sometimes we live in a culture where it's kind of the implied idea that you just, if you don't have a skill set, you hire a coach, a mentor, a tutor, a pastor, a counselor. And yes, we do need support, of course, but I really want to equip men as fathers to lead. So there's 5 sections that I have: lead her to laugh, lead her to love, lead her to look, lead her to lament, and lead her to listen. So in these broad topics, lead her to laugh, I have conversation starters so Dad doesn't have to reinvent the wheel. The question's right there in front of him. And here's the best part. I say, Dad, if your daughter thinks it's a really lame question, you just blame me.
Right. Dr. Michelle said so.
Yeah. She really wrote this, and then just go on to the next one. But in that fun lead her to laugh section, I mean, the cool thing is that neuroscientists have confirmed that when we laugh with someone else, it increases social bonding. So, Dad, you may have a bombed-out bridge with your daughter, or she may be young and not be able to handle some of the heavier topics. This lead her to laugh section is great because there's activities, too, that you can do, like best photo of the day contest and challenges with your smartphones. But then I have questions where a dad can ask about the past, the present, the future. It might be, what item of my clothing would you love to see me get rid of?
You know what? I read that out loud to my husband, and he was just like, if we gave our daughter that option, he knows exactly what she would say. Yes.
What would she tell him? What would she want him to get rid of?
Oh, there is this shirt that I bought him many years ago, thinking he would only use it for gardening, and he actually wears it around in public.
That's what my dad does. He has like this old, like some lame band, and it's like in shreds, and he still wears it. We make so much fun of him. But yeah, that's a fun one, Dad. Let your daughter make fun of you, and don't get defensive. Don't take it personal. Let her make fun of some of your clothes. And then you might also want to ask her, future, is tell me about your wedding day. What colors do you want? What flowers do you want? What location do you want? I have yet to meet a man who's ever even thought to go into that much detail with his daughter about her wedding day. And then if you have a daughter that's like, I'm not really into that, talk about why don't you want that? What about a wedding doesn't appeal to you? So you can still have a conversation, you know?
Right.
So that's the laugh section. Then we have love. So in this one, I mean, really my goal is saying you can't give out love if you haven't experienced it. And a lot of times we as women, I put myself in that, have so much internal negative dialogue about my body. So it affects self-esteem and confidence. It affects standing up and standing out and having a voice, standing alone. And it all goes together. So in this section about learning to love yourself, because doesn't God say, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor what?
As yourself.
So if you don't love yourself, how can you love someone else, your neighbor? But I've never heard a sermon. Maybe you have. I've never heard a sermon on the as yourself part of that verse. So really in this section I'm saying, Dad, if you can come alongside your daughter, remember she'll internalize your view of her, and teach her how to love herself, because you're saying, I don't see those flaws in you. What are you talking about? I don't see that zit on your face. I don't see that cellulite on your leg. Dad, you speaking into your daughter's life at any age, she will then replay those messages and replay those recordings in her head. So this section is about self-esteem and body image and birth order. I mean, maybe a question, Dad, you could ask your daughter today is, make a list of 10 outrageous things you wish you had the nerve to do. Like, just write them down, like as crazy as they could be. I actually, Martha, a number of years ago, wrote down that I wanted to write a book. And I'm like, this is like a decade ago. I had no idea what. I had no connections. Look this is now my second. So
Right,
Dad,
your second book.
Yeah, ask your daughter. Write 10 outrageous things you wish you had the nerve to do. Because if she can lean into that, I'm telling you, it may become prophetic where in years to come, like she wrote it down and God heard that and you stood with her. Maybe that becomes your prayer list for her, that you pray into those 10 things. So that's kind of that section.
Okay.
And you want me to keep going, or is that enough of an overview? You want me to share more?
No, that's great. That's great. There's quite a number of questions in each of these sections. And like you say in the book, if a question just doesn't fly, you go on to the next one, right?
Exactly. And some of these, dads may sometimes say, I don't know how to talk to her about bullying or cyberbullying or depression or anxiety. I'm going to send her to a counselor, or cutting, or same-sex attraction. I mean, there's a relevant one that's really in the deep end. And so the questions are there so that a dad can read them and interact with his daughter in a meaningful way so that she can figure it out by talking. I mean, that's how we work as girls. When we open our mouth, our heart opens. And when our hearts open, our dad's heart's open. I mean, it just works like that. So if a dad can interact with his daughter and she starts to talk with him, she's going to literally figure things out by talking, and it's going to help her be more confident and empowered.
And if she knows that her father has an unconditional regard for her as she's doing that, as she's externally processing, that's got to build her up.
Exactly. Exactly. Without a doubt.
Let me reset for just a second here, Michelle. If you're just joining in, you're listening to the Inside Out podcast on family life. I'm talking today with counselor, speaker, and author Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield. Michelle, what's your response to the dad who might say, well, you know what? All of the things that you are talking about sound absolutely great, but my relationship with my daughter is already broken. Is it too late, Michelle? Is it too late for them?
Well, the short answer is no. It's never too late. But I'm grateful that you're asking that question for this reason. I would say easily 75% of the emails I get from dads around the country are on that exact issue of estrangement with their daughters, which tells me that a lot of dads, either knowingly or unknowingly, are hurting their daughters, whether it's either through wounding words or wounding events, or even sometimes through the absence, the void of much deposit relationally. And then daughters often get to the point where they're like, I'm not doing this anymore. It hurts too much. And then as dads mellow out, right, often as they get older, they're saying, I don't know what to do. And so in this book, I even have questions about how to rebuild the bridge to your daughter's heart. Even in the appendix, I have how to prepare yourself through prayer, through humility, through maybe asking other friends to come alongside you and stand with you and pray with you as you work to rebuild the bridge to your daughter's heart. Because you and I both know the last verse of the Old Testament, Malachi 4:6, God says, if the hearts, not the heads, if the hearts of fathers don't turn to their children and children to their fathers, right? It's reciprocal, but it starts with dad. I'll come and strike the land with a curse, he says. And I think we can see the effect of the curse. And dad, you have a powerful responsibility and opportunity, and I would even say privilege, to pursue your daughter's heart. And in doing that, you're building a bridge to God as a father. What a privilege.
Well, on that same theme, which of course all of this is on that same theme, but if there was only one message that dads could walk away with from listening to us today, what would you like that to be?
Well, in typical Venusian style, where we always have more words, can I share too?
I suppose, yes.
Okay. Dads are like, no, get to the point already. Okay, but really, I have so many things I could say to that. But I would say the first one, Dad, is pursue your daughter's heart in some way every single day. Like every single day, make a deposit, reach out to her heart. It may be a short text, a voice memo. It might be one day you'll say, I'm going to put a note in the mail. I mean, there's a concept. I think, right, in our technological world.
With a stamp, Michelle? Really?
With a stamp. I know. With paper. I mean, it will stand out. And I'm telling you, myself included, I save all the cards and notes from my dad.
Yeah.
Your daughter will save those forever, whereas texts get lost. But, Dad, that's the first one I would say, is every single day think, what is one way that I can pursue her heart today? Which means it's going to be something emotional. It might be, sending her a Starbucks card or a Jamba Juice or a, Dutch Brothers. Or it may be knowing what she loves and investing money. It's going to cost you, right? Time, money, energy. Like to her favorite store. Right now we're kind of, with COVID, kind of stuck. It might be sending her a gift certificate so she can do something online. But think, what is your daughter's, what are her passion and preferences, and find a way to fund that. So that's what I mean. Number one, pursue your daughter's heart. Ready for number two?
I am.
I've just got to say this one because I have dads sometimes that have said to me, oh, you're the dad whisperer. Okay, tell me one thing I need to know about my daughter to reach her. Go. They'll just do it really fast. One guy once told me, in 20 seconds, tell me one thing.
Wow.
And immediately what comes to me is drop the anger. You've got to realize you do more damage to your daughter's heart with your harsh responses. It shuts her down. And I think the second side of that, kind of two sides of the same coin, is that when you do that, you have to humbly ask forgiveness, not defend your position, because the woundedness in your daughter's heart and life is what leads her to make really poor decisions out of the wounded place, running to that boy that makes her feel better, numbing out with alcohol or drugs or sex or whatever. So, Dad, keep the relationship clean. So that's the one, is drop the anger. And I always say, give yourself a timeout like you did your kids. If you're 3, you get a 3-minute timeout. If you're 5, you get a 5-minute timeout. If you're 50, you need a 50-minute timeout to calm down that midbrain, to get grounded again, and then go back without defensiveness and humbly ask forgiveness. So pursue your daughter's heart every day. Number 2, drop the anger and ask forgiveness when you have. responded that way.
Well, this is wonderful. And there's so much more, of course, in the book. The new book is Let's Talk, Conversation Starters for Dads and Daughters. And the new marriage is Michelle's. Congratulations. So
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for your ministry and for joining me here today on Inside Out.
Oh, it's a joy to be here. And I just want to say one more thing.
Sure.
Is that I am so excited that God has led me to marry, at the age of 60, for the first time, a widower. And we've been friends for years, and I knew his wife before she went to heaven. And his name is Dr. Ken Canfield, and he started the National Center for Fathering. And so if anyone is even listening now, I'm going off on a tangent where maybe you're a dad with a single daughter who's grieving her singleness way late in life, like me, is just a reminder that God is preparing that man for her, even if she doesn't know when and doesn't know where. And in the meantime, Dad, champion her interests, because my dad did that with me, and God gave me a vision to reach fathers and teach them how to, and coach them on how to engage their daughters' hearts, never knowing that's because God was preparing me for a husband who would share the same passion. So when you talk about my new marriage, I just wanted everyone to know who it is.
Okay.
It's Ken Canfield, and we're so excited to reach more and more fathers across this nation, especially dads of daughters.
Oh, congratulations again, and thank you for that. My guest has been counselor, speaker, and author Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield. You'll find a link to her website. That's drmichellewatson.com, and that's with no periods or spaces. And you'll find that at the same place where you find Inside Out podcasts at fln.org/insideout. I'm Martha Manikas Foster with Inside Out on Family Life.